Welcome to New York's number two sports show. The Yankees signed Paul Goldschmidt to a one-year deal worth $12.5 million. So this will be the Yankees' first baseman for the 2025 season. I mean, it kind of felt like it was headed in this direction, certainly in the last few days. And I think it's smart in the sense to not go long term with a first baseman. It does give you the opportunity if you do want to get involved in the Vlad Guerrero Jr. sweepstakes. If the Blue Jays are unable to reach an agreement with him on an extension, um, gives you that ability to do so, right? Whereas, if you went the Christian Walker route, for example, that might have been more of a challenge to do. Um, with Goldschmidt, there's a lot to be interested in, but also, he is certainly on the decline. And, he is 37 years old. And we've seen, I don't know, like they're not the same players, but for example, Josh Donaldson, who was up there in age, a former MVP winner. And, it kind of all, fell apart for him as a Yankee. So with Goldschmidt, it's a little bit different, whereas he's a professional hitter. You like to think that the bottom won't completely drop out, but certainly an interesting move. And I think other ramifications as well. But let's stick with Goldschmidt for now and then talk about what it might mean, for the rest of the team and how they're going to build the rest of the roster. Um, Paul Goldschmidt won the MVP in 2022. So it's in some ways, I almost forgot about that. But then, because that was the year where Aaron Judge won the American League MVP. Goldschmidt was fantastic that year. 151 games, 35 homers, 115 RBIs, 317 batting average, 981 OPS. Like a really, really good year. Maybe it doesn't stack up with some of the more recent gaudy, like Ohtani crazy MVP numbers and even Judge. But still, like the point is that pretty recently, this guy was at the top, of the league as far as, really being that year in, year out all-star. For Goldschmidt, he spent his whole career in the National League, mostly with Arizona, but he really ended up spending a lot of time in St. Louis. He was at with the Diamondbacks for about 8 seasons, and with the Cardinals 6. And still looking for that first World Series. It has not come. 7-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove winner. And the most recent Gold Glove he won was 2021. So I don't know. I have to imagine that defensively things have probably decreased for him a bit. Again, just a guess of mine, but the fact that he does have that prowess, years ago, as a Gold Glove winner is encouraging. I think about Rizzo, where, look, he was not as good the last couple of seasons defensively, even though he had a track record of being a great first baseman. So, look, Father Time gets the best of you eventually. But the fact that it's a one-year commitment is good. Again, the risk is not overly high. $12.5 million seems reasonable as far as average annual value. And the thing with Paul Goldschmidt is, even to this day, he mashes lefties, and that was a major, major problem. So it's a lot of fans would prefer to have lefty bats. I feel, especially because you lost Soto, and I get that, right? And so they bring in Cody Bellinger as one of them. So, but at the same time, the Yankees really do need to improve their offense against lefties. It was putrid last season. I mean, really, really bad. And Goldschmidt, if nothing else, I'm confident that he will still have that ability. The other thing that's good is Goldschmidt was really bad in the first half last year. He did pick things up in the second half. And so maybe, it was, again, just simply put, a bad few months. I don't think we can ignore it. And I think it definitely cost Goldschmidt as far as the contract was concerned. I mean, I think going into last season, Goldschmidt certainly could have very well earned himself a multi-year deal. That did not happen. He had to settle on a one-year deal. So now, you hear talks about maybe Nolan Arenado coming in via a trade from St. Louis. I don't think I would, because he's good friends with Goldschmidt in their time with St. Louis. And, Arenado blocked a trade to the Astros, but this might entice him to not block a trade to the Yankees. And with Arenado, you are getting good defense, which is important. Like, I think Yankees shoring up, their fielding, paramount. But I just don't know. I think that's taking it a little bit too far as, being a little bit older, not being overly athletic. And the funny thing with Goldschmidt is he is someone that can steal bases. He did steal 11 bases last year. And really, his career high was actually 32. So you wouldn't think of him as a base stealer, but he can. 12, 7, 11, 11 the last 4 years. So look, it's not, something that's going to jump out at you, but he has it in his arsenal, I guess. 22 homers, 65 RBIs last year with a 245 batting average and a 716 OPS, which is still better production than what the Yankees got this past season at first base. It was a joke. First base was a weakness for the Yankees. And so if you get that, it's an upgrade. Although, look, you can make the argument that maybe he goes worse. It is possible. Again, he's going to be a year older. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say this is some amazing move by the Yankees, because I don't think it is. But I see the sense in it, and I understand why it was done. And again, it leaves you open for flexibility in future years. Where does it leave Ben Rice, for example? I don't know. Obviously, he's kind of blocked, and I don't think that they're going to go back to him at catcher. It just doesn't make sense as a platoon. Wells and Rice, it just doesn't, both lefties. I don't really see it. But hey, I mean, I'm fine with Rice, increasing versatility. And hey, if he wants to if there's a way to have him catch and play first base, great. But Rice is someone that, is hurt by this trade. The sense I get with Jazz Chisholm Jr., it feels as if that he will. My prediction at this point is that he'll go to second base, whether it be Arenado coming in. I don't think Bregman will, but you can't rule that out. Either way, I just feel as if second base, he has graded out the best at second. I think that we saw some reasons to believe that he can become a good third baseman, and I'd be fine if that were the case, but it just seems like there's more available third baseman than second baseman. And I think the only reason, honestly, if Gleyber Torres wasn't on the team, they probably would have just went to Jazz straight to second, but Gleyber didn't want to move, and so Chisholm was the easy guy to kind of throw to third base. But it's interesting. Again, we've seen the Yankees make these types of Goldschmidt moves before, I feel, where guys that are kind of towards the end of their careers, you're hoping that they can still give you, a good amount of production, despite the fact that they are on the decline. But we'll see what happens. And if nothing else, I'm glad that Brian Cashman, they've been active. They are really trying to fill these holes. They've really been one of the most active teams in the league to this point. There's still a lot of offseason left. And it really kind of came down to, in some ways, Goldschmidt or Carlos Santana. Both on the older side, both still, again, like Santana's a really good fielder. But they end up going with Goldschmidt. Both are very good. Santana's a switch hitter, but Santana's much better against lefties, as is Goldschmidt. So going to be interesting. It's not really one that I necessarily saw coming at the start of the offseason. Like this was a name that kind of emerged more recently. But glad they did it. Like, I think this makes way more sense than like going like Pete Alonso. I think this is way smarter to do. And like I said, like there's still more work to be done. I still think this lineup is lacking in terms of offensive pop. And I understand that Goldschmidt, look, he had 22 home runs last year, and at Yankee Stadium, he's someone that can hit the ball the opposite way. And so you think the short porch might do him some good. So it's not to say that, look, you've added Bellinger, you've added Goldschmidt, but I still think that I hope there's one kind of big one. And I don't, and Arenado might qualify in terms of name value. I don't know. I would not want to do that. I'd want to, if you can, go with someone that's just a little bit younger, and again, a little bit more athletic, even though Arenado, look, obviously, he is still someone that it grades out very well defensively. So we'll see what happens. But Paul Goldschmidt, he is a New York Yankee, 1 year, $12.5 million deal done. And yeah, it just feels like there's been like a move a day. So we'll see what the next thing is as the Yankees continue to try to pivot after not being able to retain Juan Soto. They are definitely trying the best they can to fill out this roster And I would suspect that there will be another move soon. So Paul Goldschmidt is a Yankee.